What's going on, traders? So I'm gonna go over how I pass the majority of my evals. Before I get into that, make sure you join us on the stream on YouTube every day from 1:30 to the end of the day. And if you're looking to get any prop firm accounts, all the discounts and coupon codes are in the description of this video. It's coupon code Cove Trader. All right, so let's jump right into this. Um, so I have a strategy. So I trade funded accounts, but at all times I have one or two evals, and basically these evals are used for the primo setups. The I could pass in one trade basically. And a good example of that happened today. We had this huge drop today, as you could see, and depending, on what's going on the day, I look at the pivot points a lot. Um, but yeah, so this is the hourly. We had a buy signal on the hourly, but the candles were still red, and we were getting close to the hourly pivot point. We created the sell around here. There was no buy. So I knew that we created a buy signal on this candle, and we were so close to this pivot point that if we got there, this is an A plus setup. This is the you go all in on eval. Sure enough, comes right down to the pivot point. Um, I go pretty much all in, and the rest is history. I passed the Take Profit Trader account. I got multiple Apex evals up. I got a ton of funded accounts up, and yeah. So I wait for the primo setup, and then basically go pretty in. I use pivot points. You could see hourly pivot points get stuffed, sells off. You know, coming real close. Doesn't happen all the time. I tend to trade the 5 minutes for actual intraday trades more, but I definitely do look for the hourly. Um, Example is today we sold off, came up, touched the pivot point along with the 34 rejection. I took that short and basically covered right at this pivot point and then went long. And I mean, right there is more than enough points for the whole day, probably for the whole week if you think about it. I mean, that's 62. I mean, that's 40 something points right there. And then on the way down was about 100 points. So was that 162 points? I mean, that's more than, that's a ton. That's a ton. So, anyways, I trade the pivot points and then I use secondary indicators. The 34 is, I look at it on the 5 and the 1. I do not trade after hours, by the way, but I follow the 200. I follow the 34, as you could see, respecting. So I follow that. And then obviously you have the 200. I have VWAP, the 377. And basically I'm looking to see what lines are being respected during the trading session. But the 200 mostly always is. And when it coincides with something like this, where you have the 200, you have the pivot point, and then you have the 34 and the 5, all kind of at the same resistance spot, that is full blown go short. And that's exactly what caused that trade. Nothing that I use is like, hey, if it hits this one point, I do this. I take I take an account like the market. Are we selling off today? Was there news? News surpasses all. So there's a couple things I do. Like I do like playing pivot points. As you can see, look, we came right around here. I definitely played that. But I also take into account, like, if there was news today and we're just terrible news and I think we're just going to keep selling off, I'm not playing a pivot point bounce that close. I'm going to just let it maybe go to the next one. I want to see the selling starting to stop before I play a bounce. I love when we come up to a pivot point, reject about 10, 15 points, consolidate right under, and then pop through. That's always that's always pretty good. Something like this, where we would reject, but only a little bit, and then I say, hey, you know what? This isn't gonna go. This is gonna pop through, and then sure enough, it pops through, and you can get a lot of profits off something like that. So yeah, I play that, and then I also throw in the cues, the 15-minute opening range. I play. Obviously, today's a bad example because we basically just sold off. So I'll just show you. You know, a lot of times bounces happen right around there. This candle wicked, touched it and bounced. This is mostly for scalps. You know, this isn't a long-term hold where it hits the orb or, you know, you come back up and check it. I'm looking to just scalp off this. So if you're like, oh, well, you know, it eventually went through. Like, here's an example. It hit the top orb, you rejected, and then you stayed up here. I'm probably going to take that long on the pop through, but I probably took it short on the top, got my scalp, which is what I'm looking for, but I see a consolidation right underneath resistance. Once we pop through resistance, I am taking that trade, and sure enough, it's a winner. Like you can see, we came down, we touched the bottom orb right there, and then kind of bounced. So also another way you can play it, obviously, is you go under the orb a significant amount, comes back up, retests the bottom, and rejects. But like I said, everything about this is subject to what's going on in the market as well. All these are areas of interest, and then when you have areas of interest that line up with other areas, so if you have like the top orb and the 34 or and the 200 lining up, and you're coming down for like a bounce, obviously that's going to be stronger support. There's more areas of interest that it's coming down to. So, you know, I'm more likely to take it or size up. So I'm just looking for things to come into play. And it's just about percentages. Everything is about putting the percentages in your favor. And that's kind of what I do with the pivot points, the orb, the 200, the 34. And then I basically keep the 9 just to kind of show me, you know, the trend, basically to stay in trades. And that's pretty much it. That's how I kind of pass all my evals and continuously make solid trades on my funded accounts. And that's why I get payouts. So if you're interested in seeing this live, come join us on YouTube every day. We stream. And if you're looking to get into prop firm trading and want to save money, all the discount codes are in the description of this video.